Hello and good evening, everybody, and this is tonight's episode of Album Rant, and it is going to be episode 42, and I am very glad to say that we have made it that far, and I definitely look forward to future endeavors with this channel. But anyways, we're going to have kind of a surprise tonight. We're going to talk about a band that I've never talked about before, and also someone who rarely ever gets discussed that often, and it's gonna be German band Lucifer's Friend, and I didn't really categorize them right there, and I have a reason for that, and that's because, interestingly enough, they are very well known for changing their genre every single album they put out. And it's interesting, albeit a little bit frustrating at the same time, but tonight, I am going to be talking about their debut effort. Well, actually, I guess it's technically their second album, but I'll get to that in a second. But it is appropriately entitled Lucifer's Friend, which came out in the year 1970. And now that we kind of think about that, that may have been a mistake. The band is called Lucifer's Friend, and the year is 1970. And I am sure that audiences were just totally on board with that. I mean, they might as well just call their band Satan. Well, actually, that's happened before, so yeah. But anyways, they actually were initially called a band called Asterix, and after their first album, and I've heard kind of a snippet of it, it was very underwhelming, and then they decided to change the band's name to Lucifer's Friend. Well, it all kind of originated by chance, actually, because lead vocalist John Lawton, yes, that John Lawton, was originally in a band called Stonewall, and they were on tour in West Germany, and I guess they just kind of broke up right there in the middle of the tour, so yeah, not quite sure what happened with all that. But then he came across 4 other musicians, and I know I am going to mispronounce some of these names. I'm going to do the very best that I can. But we have Peter Hesslein on lead guitar, Dieter Horns on bass guitar, Joachim Rietenbach, I know I said that incorrectly, on the drums, and then Peter Hecht on the keyboard/organ. And they eventually decided to form a band called Asterix, and then they later changed the name to Lucifer's Friend. Well, they had one album under the name Asterix, and so this is the very first album under the name Lucifer's Friend, but this is the second album these guys put out together, so, you know, it's a little bit confusing. But anyways, this thing is an absolute beast. It sounds a lot like Deep Purple mixed with Uriah Heep and Black Sabbath. And that is one heck of a combination. When this came out, those 3 bands, along with Led Zeppelin, were known as the Big Four. I personally would probably exclude Uriah Heep from that category, just because, you know, Zeppelin, Sabbath, and Purple were absolutely phenomenal, and not dissing Uriah Heep at all, I just don't think they quite met that level. But, again, many historians classify those 4 artists together, so that's why I refer to them as such. But these guys definitely sounded a lot like them. Was their music as good? I don't know. All I know is that it's awesome. And they have been cited with one of the leading pioneers of doom metal. And I definitely can see where that is coming from. But there is the album cover, and boy, that looks awesome. And let's see what we have here on the back. We have the back of the gate right there. There is no gatefold on this, unfortunately, but here is the track list. And it all starts off with side 1. This opening song is about 2 minutes and 54 seconds or so, and it's called Ride the Sky. And never before did I ever think a French horn could rock as well as it does here. It is absolutely crazy, but this thing is fast, and I swear, the keyboards and organs accompany the guitar so incredibly well. Okay? Just like how Uriah Heep and Deep Purple were very dependent upon the keyboards, these guys are no exception. But that's not a bad thing because, again, they don't overshadow the guitar, and it's awesome. But this thing has a French horn along with it, and it sounds absolutely bizarre yet awesome at the same time. This was actually the very first Lucifer's Friends song I ever heard. I actually stumbled across it on YouTube, believe it or not, and I was like, oh, this looks okay. So I clicked on it, and I was just blown away immediately. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. But yeah, Ride the Sky, very underrated metal song. Then we come to the second song entitled Everybody's Clown. And this one is a little bit longer than Ride the Sky. It's actually over twice as long at 6 minutes and 7 seconds. And it kicks off, it has a nice swinging beat to it. And once again, the keyboards and the guitar work so well together. Oftentimes, keyboards tend to, make songs less heavy or more pop rock or whatever. Not in this case. It, again, accompanies it very well. But again, this thing has multiple sections. It starts out, like I said, with a nice swinging rhythm to it. And by the way, John Lawton is an incredible vocalist. And then it's got kind of a very slow interlude, which actually happens quite often on this album. But again, it kind of descends kind of into a realm of madness, I guess, before it once again picks back up and it concludes the entire thing. But yeah, Everybody's Clown. It's a great song. Then we have Keep Going, and this thing is about 5 minutes and 22 seconds, but it starts off with a very heavy guitar intro. And it's a little bit more straightforward than Everybody's Clown, but still, it's great prog metal / doom metal, I guess. And yeah, I mean, the guitar intro is kind of sleazy and bluesy in a way, I guess, but it's also doomy in a sense, and it sounds like it would be very hard to pull that off, but they actually do, and I really, really respect it. Again, in the middle, it gets a little soft and kind of trippy at least, but again, it picks back up, and I still gotta give guitarist Peter Hesslein, again, I know I messed it up there, and I really don't care, but I gotta give him a lot of credit because he is absolutely on fire here. And it's a shame he is not more widely recognized by the metal community. Then it ends with Toxic Shadows, or side 1 ends with Toxic Shadows, and this one starts off with the keyboards. And again, great intro. But then the band starts jumping in, the guitars come in, the bass comes in, the drums come in, and again, after the first verse or so, they kind of go back to that opening riff or that opening rhythm that we heard right at the beginning. But again, this also has another very trippy and stonery interlude, I guess you would say. I don't know if these guys ever did drugs, but sure sounds like they did. And it's led by the bass, actually. And it's got a nice bass riff going. But again, they come out of the realm of despair and madness, and it picks right back up, and it concludes very well. But anyways, that was side 1, and it's incredibly strong. But it's really tough for me to make this call right here. I'm leaning towards Everybody's Clown for being my favorite from side 1. But I really have to give a shout out to Ride the Sky just for how creative it was and how insane it is. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to give the edge tonight to Everybody's Clown, but Ride the Sky could dethrone it at any point in my life. But Very strong side one, and again, Ride the Sky is what really caught my attention and got me into these guys. Then we come to side number 2, and it starts with Free Baby. And it again starts out with a keyboard intro. This time it's got kind of a staccato feel going with it. And again, that was the very best I could do. But again, it's got this, I'm not going to try to sing it. I don't fully know the lyrics here. But John Lawton, when he's singing on this one, it sounds almost bluesy in a way. And in the interlude, he's got this woo thing going. And that's not really how it sounds, but he's saying ooh a lot. And, you know, I kind of dig it, but I do not think Free Baby is quite as good as what was on side 1, but I still really enjoy it. There's not a bad song on here. Track 2 on side 2 is Baby You're a Liar, and we've got kind of a before and after thing going there. Free Baby You're a Liar. Yeah, not sure if that was intentional, but that may have been. But this one totally comes out swinging. It's got a very, very bluesy guitar intro. And then after that, it starts getting very fast, very upbeat. And it's also got a staccato thing going on, especially in the chorus. But I do think I like Baby You're a Liar a lot better than Free Baby. But again, I mean, it's a great song. But yeah, I think I do actually enjoy this one a little bit more. It's a little bit shorter. It's only about 3 minutes and 51 seconds, but you know, I still really dig it. Then we have In the Time of Job, When Mammon Was a Yippie. Boy, that is a mouthful. This is probably one of the more disposable tracks on here, actually. You might be thinking this is going to be some big epic prog number, but it's actually one of the more simplistic songs on here. It's only about 4 minutes, and it starts off with no real build-up. It just gets right into it, and it actually sounds surprisingly standard, which may not be what you would expect from a title like that, but still, I absolutely respect and everything. But then we come to the title track, not only of the album, but the band. And I do not know a lot of bands who have actually done this. I know plenty of bands that have an album that is the same name as the band, but not many that have a song that is the name of the band. I mean, we do have Black Sabbath, and we have Iron Maiden, and I know there's something else. I know there's more, but I just can't quite think of it. But there's 2 that I know of at least. This is probably the most, it's probably the most proggy song on here, if that makes sense or anything. But it starts out with a very scary, very gloomy, and spooky intro. And I really dig it. But then, of course, as you probably guessed, things start coming together, the band starts coming in, and it starts kicking, and it's really good. The chorus slows down a bit, but once again, I have got to give this song a lot of credit because the organ is in the background, and the organ accompanies the rest of the band so well. Not a lot of bands are able to pull this off. I mean, Deep Purple did, Uriah Heep did. Styx isn't quite as dark as these guys, but they also pulled it off pretty well as well. But really, that's not many bands, and I really respect that. But it's got a great guitar solo, and in the middle he says, "Come take my hand, I'm Lucifer's friend." So they incorporated the name of the band into the song, which actually makes sense because that's the title of the song. But boy, that is pretty dark. But I love it. And again, it's very, very trippy and very mellowy, but it's great all the same, okay? And yeah, I mean, after that interlude, John Lawton comes in with this screech, I guess. Maybe it's not quite a falsetto. I'll just definitely call it a screech. And the song ends on a high note. There's an incredibly bombastic guitar and keyboard jam at the end, and it just all comes together very, very well. And so for that, I absolutely do recommend this album. Now, Unfortunately, as I said earlier, these guys were very well known for changing their genre with each subsequent album. And it's very unfortunate because I felt they nailed it on this one. And I really wish they continued down this path. I've heard a few of their other albums on YouTube, and I gotta be honest, nothing about them was really blowing me away like this one did. I would suggest getting this album first, and if you really love it, maybe preview their second album to see if it's, something you would be into. But honestly, from what I've heard, this is where it's at, and I am definitely going to recommend Lucifer's Friend, the album, the song, and the band. And so that is going to conclude tonight's episode of Album Rant. And believe it or not, John Lawton actually did perform with Uriah Heep for 3 albums in the late 70s. And from what I understand, he rejoined Lucifer's Friend after his tenure concluded. And I gotta be honest, those albums I thought were a little lackluster, not quite what the band was capable of, and I feel they didn't fully utilize everything that John Lawton was capable of. But still, we have this, and sometimes we gotta be satisfied with what we have. Next time, we're gonna take a look at the red and the black. But until then, have a very pleasant evening.